gentlemen, as you can see.
E aí, descobriu o erro? Hoje a gente vai falar das palavras so and then. E, para isso, eu vou falar de uma situação que quase todo mundo já deve ter passado pelo menos uma vez na vida. Sabe quando você está numa festa e alguém está te contando uma história cheia de detalhes, demorada, e você querendo que acabe logo?
Pois é, gata. Daí eu peguei meu jatinho, daí fui pra reunião de Uber Black, daí lá eu tomei num expresso top, meu. Daí aproveitei para fechar uns negócios pelo iPhone. Daí foi malhar, daí era dia de braço. Daí tô todo dolorido.
E você está lá, escutando, e as palavras vão se misturando e vai virando tudo a uma bagunça. E chega uma hora que tudo que você consegue ouvir é as palavras daí, daí, daí. Bem, saiba que não é só no Brasil que existe essa mania de falar dessa forma. Também na Inglaterra, as pessoas falam desse jeito. E também até no mesmo tom e no mesmo ritmo. Nesse vídeo, a gente vai focar nas expressões que ligam ideias em uma frase. E, como vocês têm daí, aí e então, a gente também tem then and so. Mas, antes de falar em inglês, vamos pensar num exemplo simples. Hoje, meu despertador não tocou. Daí, eu saí de cama atrasado. Se a gente quiser, dá para trocar esse daí para a palavra então, e faz todo sentido. Hoje meu despertador não tocou, então eu saí de casa atrasado. Mas, se a gente fosse traduzir isso para inglês, como é que ficaria? Dá para colocar so e then no lugar de então e daí? Vamos ver em inglês. In this video, we're going to be looking at the words so and then. And we're going to be looking at how they help us to build fluency and flow in our conversation, and how we can use them to introduce ideas and also to link ideas as well. Now, when we're introducing ideas, we use words called interjections, and we basically take these interjections and we put them in different places in the sentence to help the flow. The word so is a classic interjection, and you've probably heard me use it 1,000 times. So. So, we use so at the beginning of a sentence to introduce an idea, to introduce a question, or to introduce even a story. Let's think of 3 examples. So, should we go home? So, what are we going to be learning today? So, I was walking down Rua Augusta when something happened. Or, we can even use the word then, and instead of using at the beginning, we're going to be using it at the end of our sentence. Are we going to go home then? Shall we go home then? What are we going to learn today then? Also, we can join so and then together, and we create an interjection which is equal to so. So then, how are you? So then, what are we going to be doing today? Today, however, we're not interested really in the use of these words as interjections. We're interested in the way in which we use them to link ideas, either in a sentence, or to link paragraphs, or to link our discourse. What you might have noticed during your studies is that when we translate these words so and then, that we get the translation então for both the words. In fact, these words are used for different situations and have different meanings. The word then is used to order actions in the chronological order that they happen. A simple example, I walked up Rua Augusta, then I had lunch on Paulista. In this example, the walking up Augusta happened first, and having lunch on Paulista happened second, and the then shows us that. Also, we have synonyms, so we don't need to repeat then, so we can use the words afterward or afterwards. We can also use after that, or we could use subsequently or next. And again, all these words show the order in which something happened. Next then is the linking word so. And the linking word so doesn't show the order, it gives emphasis on the effect. So whatever we put using so is the effect of the action before. Simple example, I was exhausted last night, so I went to bed early. And I went to bed early is the result of being exhausted. In fact, if we swap these parts of the sentence around, I went to bed early because I was exhausted. We use so to show the effect, and we use because to show the cause. Now, if we take this example and we swap so for then, the sentence doesn't make total sense. I was exhausted, then I went to bed. But as we're listening to this sentence, we're thinking there is clearly a connection of effect, cause and effect, between the two actions. Synonyms, of course, we love them. So synonyms for so include therefore and as a result. Other examples for so might be the traffic was horrendous, so we missed the meeting. Or I didn't sleep very well last night, so today I can't concentrate. That wraps up really why we use them. Now, we know why we use them. Now we need to know how and when we use them in a sentence. What's important to understand is that so is considered a conjunction, which means that it's able to link ideas in one sentence, and then is in fact considered an adverb. And so in theory, it can't connect these two ideas in one sentence. Let's look at so first. When we use so in a sentence, we're using it to connect two ideas, which we call clauses, and we can do that within one sentence. So it's quite simple to use, and it functions like, for example, and or but. These are all conjunctions. However, the linking word then is an adverb. And before we go further, it's important to say here that you have very hard rules for the use of adverbs, but the fact is, on a day-to-day basis, people don't always use then in the way that the dictionary states that it should be used. So, depending on the situation, you might want to use it in the formal sense, or you might use it in spoken English in a more informal sense. Let's look then at the formal, correct way to use it, and then as we progress, we'll give examples that become more informal. The formal way to use then, well, it's an adverbial conjunction, so that means, in theory, it's connecting two sentences. Simple example, I went to the gym, full stop, then, we can put a comma here if we want, then I went to the park. And that would be considered the formal, correct way to use it. We could also say, I went to the gym, semicolon, then, comma, I went to the park. And again, that works perfectly. Secondly, we can use it with the word and, the conjunction and, which functions like so, which does allow us to connect ideas in one sentence. I went to the gym, and then I went to the park. And in this sentence, we don't need to use a full stop or a semicolon. Thirdly, what would be considered incorrect use of the word then, but the fact is, people do say this and you will hear it. I went to the gym, then I went to the park. And we're using it here just like we'd use so. It's incorrect, but you'll see people using it. Then is an adverbial. It can't be used to join ideas in one sentence, but so can. And I gave you synonyms earlier on, and almost all those synonyms are in fact adverbials. The word so had the synonyms therefore and as a result, and they'd have to be used as adverbials like we saw with then. Also, the word then, we saw the synonyms afterward, afterwards, after that, subsequently. And again, we'd have to use them as adverbials. So if we want to use them in the sentence, we'd have to use them with and. I went to the gym and afterwards I went home again. Bem, eu espero muito que esse vídeo tenha sido útil para vocês e sempre lembrando que se você quiser o material complementar está disponível no link abaixo. Falou!